Transnistria is kind of, it gets free energy from Russia, but it's really kind of the only flag in the world to bear the hammer and sickle insignia. There's statues of Vladimir Lenin everywhere. They're very proud of their Soviet past. They are majority Russian speaking as well.
It's been paying Moscow $250 million per day for oil. This announcement's going to have a huge impact, isn't it?
It really is going to have an impact. And I think even member states that fully back this package of sanctions are going to be looking at alternative energy sources. They're also going to be concerned about the rising cost of living in their country, which is happening all across the continent. So, and now I think as well, people are going to become increasingly concerned about Hungary and Slovakia, the two member states that are not backing at the moment any sanctions on the import of Russian oil.
Okay, they're not backing it. Is there a plan to find some sort of resolution for them? I presume it's because so much of their oil comes from Russia, too much to be able to let them do this easily.
It's very early to say what they're going to do. So the Slovaks are saying, look, 90% of our oil comes from Russia. We need several years to change our technology to be able to accept either different types of oil and accept oil from different suppliers. That's what the Slovaks are saying. Their neighbours, the Hungarians, well, they're a little bit more nefarious. They're basically saying, their government spokesperson came out this morning, Zoltán Kovács, and he said, these sanctions offer no plan or guarantees that Hungarians are not going to bear the costs of these sanctions. But it's not just that. The Hungarians the Hungarian government, the newly re-elected Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his Fidesz party, they've quite a close relationship with the Kremlin. So there's going to be a lot more concern about Hungary rather than Slovakia, I think, at this stage.
Okay, the suggestion is they'd be given an extra year to find alternate suppliers. What does it mean for us here in the UK if we're to spell out why this is such an important story? How will it affect us? We don't obviously get a lot of our oil imports from Russia, but we do from Europe. And of course, Europe relies on Russia.
Yes, well, this is all about a domino effect, isn't it? So if costs rise in Europe for companies in the UK who buy products from Europe, they're going to take on that extra cost in some way or another. Then that cost is going to go on to the consumers. So it really is that knock-on effect. And that's really why many EU member states at the moment, they're urgently trying to find alternative sources, be that renewables, be that extra crude oil coming from Saudi Arabia or the UAE. 6 months isn't an awful lot of time to a year, which is what they're being given under these proposals. So they're trying to kind of offset a lot of the shock, but it could well, unfortunately, also hit the pockets of people in the UK.
What other sanctions have we seen announced today, Amanda?
So there's going to be sanctions on Russian banks and basically disconnecting them from SWIFT. And that, of course, is something that is not going to be very popular in Russia, but it is something that the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian government in Kyiv have been calling for since the very early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There are also proposals here about further sanctioning Russian media and making sure that Russian propaganda cannot seep in, into European media. And so these two other things are really a part of the 360 approach that the EU is trying to take on undermining Russia's ability to fund its war in Ukraine.
The European Union also considering additional military support for Moldova. How concerned are they about the war spreading to Ukraine's neighbour?
Yes, Moldova is incredibly interesting. So Moldova is bordering Ukraine. And in between, there is a breakaway state called Transnistria that has very strong links to Russia, to say the least. The Moldovan military is not the strongest. It's only between around 6,500 to 7,500 active troops. But there are concerns about the war spreading via Transnistria, this breakaway state. I was in Transnistria in early February, and just for some listeners that might never have heard of it before, Transnistria is kind of it gets free energy from Russia, but it's really kind of the only flag in the world to bear the hammer and sickle insignia. There's statues of Vladimir Lenin everywhere. They're very proud of their Soviet past. They are majority Russian speaking as well. Many people in the breakaway region hold Russian passports, but they also hold Moldovan passports, Transnistrian passports, and some of them even hold Romanian passports. But they are concerned, the Moldovan government in Chisinau is concerned about the war spreading via Transnistria. However, the Moldovan government has to balance its pro-EU stance. They've applied for membership to the European Union, and also not antagonizing Russia too much. And remember, Moldova is a neutral state, so it doesn't have any plans to join NATO at the moment. So really, they will be very concerned about how this will be received in the Kremlin and whether this announcement by the EU could further inflame tensions in the region.
Really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. Amanda Coakley is a Central Europe correspondent writing for Time magazine, The Independent and The Irish Time. Good to speak to you.